So, all right, man, I'm gonna go ahead and continue, man. Before I continue reading, I'm gonna show you this little thing in the corner. Say, though a slave and often described as a black pastor of the Third African Baptist Church, Henry Francis had no known African ancestor. So, how we know he African? How does he know he African? Yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and continue. An interesting associate of George Galpin was a musty Alexander McGollivray, whose father was a Scotch and his mother was a Muskogee. So they slept with the women, man. It ain't like women first came with Columbus and all of them, man. These bastards. Educated in Charleston, he went on to be recognized by George Washington as the head chief of the entire. So this man is a Scottish man with a, with a Muskegee mama, educated in Charleston. He went on to be recognized by George Washington as the head chief of the entire Creek Nation. George Washington would negotiate a treaty with McGillivray in the 1790. Man, you see, they put agents among you. Let's continue. Another prominent traveler in these circles was the enigmatic Tory Williams. Augustus Bowles. Tory William Augustus Bowles. Yeah, I see. I understand now. As long as you indoctrinated, as long as you think like them, they can recognize you. Man, let's continue. Born in Maryland and fleeing British military service to live among the Creek and Seminole, he was too recognized as a leader of the Creek Nation. And an interesting note on history, he was also recognized as a duly accredited provincial Grand Master of the Five Nations. Man, that's like taking Farrakhan and placing him above the whole Islamic nations. Because he think like a Negro and he act like the Negro they made, they can put him above them and he'll be federally recognized as a respected Muslim. That's why they let all those refugees in here because they're respected because they bow down. Let's continue. A title bestowed him in the Grand Lodge of England in 1790. Bowles and several beloved men included the Cherokee Going Snake and the Creek Tuscania, an associate of Tecumseh, traveled to England where they were accepted into the Prince of Wales Lodge, number 259. Is that the same? Is that the Irishman that went to England and declared to be a Cherokee and all of that? I think so. Bowles made being a Mason in the Bahamas, being made a Mason in the Bahamas, he was duly interested in the political affairs of the Caribbean. While he and the native companions were in England, they tried to obtain English assistance for a struggle being led into Santo Domingo by their fellow Freemasons, John Jacques, excuse me, John Jacques Dessalines and Toussaint L'Ouverture. So Freemason was John Jacques Dessalines and Toussaint L'Ouverture. Okay, I didn't know that. When the Revolutionary War threatened the congregation of the isolated Negro Baptist Church. I thought it was African Baptist Church. You see, Pastor David George and 50 members of the congregation fled to Savannah where the congregation grew and other branches of the church formed. Among the first ministers of so now it's African Baptist Church, was a form of Savannah, was a former slave by the name of Henry Francis, a minister ordained by Andrew Bryan of the Silver Bluff Baptist Church. Okay, so he was baptized in the Silver Bluff Negro Baptist Church to create a African Baptist Church. But in the corner it says that he has no African known history. Well, he's an African. Okay. Though a slave and often described as a black pastor, the Third African Baptist Church, Henry Francis had no known African ancestry. Andrew Bryan, pioneer black Baptist, spoke of Henry Francis in the Letter to Authorities in the 1800s. Another dispensation of providence has much strengthened our hands and increased our means of information. Henry Francis, lately a slave to the widow of the late Colonel Leroy Hammond of Augusta, had been purchased by a few humane gentlemen of this place and liberated to exercise the handsome ministerial gifts he. So is that why they brought in Nate Turner? Gifts and possessed amongst us, and teach our youth to read and write. He's a strong man about 39 years of age, whose mother was white and whose father was an Indian. His wife and only son are slaves. So his white wife and his they slaves. Let's continue. Brother Francis has been in the ministry 15 years and will soon receive ordination and will probably become the pastor of a branch of my large church. It will take the rank and the title of the Third Baptist Church of Savannah. Watch that new show called Underground, man. Watch. Let's continue. In 1782, when the British abandoned Savannah, David George fled to Nova Scotia, Canada, and lived there until he moved to Sierra Leone in West Africa as part of a Granville Sharp's recolonialization movement. So they moved to Sierra Leone from Canada, a part of a recolonialization movement. That makes sense? Of course it do. Look how they word it. And to the mind, it ain't nothing wrong. It's nothing, no foul play. Right. Well, we know how to read, man. It's a damn shame we got to read your records to understand us. Now let us continue. Most of the early records of the missionaries note that among these mixed peoples of low country areas, their earliest converts were the enslaved African Americans that lived in the Native American communities. Among the most successful of the early missions of the South was that of Reverend Samuel Thomas of Goose Creek Parish in South Carolina. Thomas's 20 black interpreters helped him with the church of nearly 1,000 communicants of African and Native American ancestry. Records from the Society of the Propagation of the Gospel in South Carolina repeatedly mention the membership of the early missions and the churches are being equally mixed with Negro and Indian slaves. The records also state that the SPG had no qualms about baptizing the heathen slaves, also Indian and Negroes. So the heathen slaves, also parenthesis Indians and Negroes, and man, come on, man. However, in spite of the SPG's efforts, many of their owners were resistant to baptizing slaves for fear of their seeing themselves as social equals. Okay, I'm gonna continue in the next video.